Hi everyone. We are reading Emma and the Blue Genie, and today we are on chapter 4, No Friendly Welcome. The throne of the Caliph of Barakash looked like the lounge chair of a giant. Yet, sitting on top of the gold-embroidered cushions was a boy barely older than Emma. His feet rested on the hump of a honey-golden dromedary that lay on its knees in front of the throne, chewing on something in a rather half-hearted way. Lounging on a sumptuous cushion next to the dromedary was a big woman with a beard and blue patterns on her face. She was sipping tea from a cup. Emma would have loved to take a closer look at the dromedary, but the servant, who was called Hashim, by the way, threw himself flat on the ground and made frantic signals for Emma to do the same. "Forgive me, O Maimon, most exalted navel of the world," he called, without taking his nose off the floor tiles. "Forgive me for disturbing you and your honorable grandmother at such an early hour, but this strangely clad girl claims she is bearing a message from Karim." "Karim?" The Caliph leaned forward on his throne to give Emma a curious look. "Leave us alone," the Caliph ordered the servant, who immediately backed away with 1,000 curtsies. "Could I maybe get up, please?" Emma asked. The stone tiles had a beautiful pattern, but they were horribly cold. The Caliph frowned and nodded. "You shall be permitted," he said. "Where do you come from? You look strange, as though you fell into a sack of flour." "Where I come from, a lot of people look like this," Emma answered. She wasn't sure whether she should feel insulted or not. "Really?" Maimon said. He brushed a jet-black strand of hair from his forehead. "I've heard stories about places like that, but I've always thought them to be fairy tales." Then he shot a frown at Tristan, who had started growling at the dromedary. "Girls and dogs are usually forbidden from entering the palace," Maimon observed. "If your dog bites my dromedary, I'll have to throw him into the dungeon." "He never bites," Emma said, as she pulled Tristan back by his tail. "He just likes to act dangerous. Now, do you want to hear my message or not?" She was losing patience with the Caliph and had already decided not to like him, no matter what Karim thought about him. Maxman, however, crossed his arms and gave Emma a scornful look. "If your message really is from Karim," he said, "then it is the message of a traitor. Karim abandoned Barakash. He ran from Siham like a dog from a lion." "My dog would never run from a lion," Emma shouted. "And Karim didn't run away either. You should be ashamed for even thinking that of him." She pulled a green bottle from under her bathrobe, and she put it on the floor. A pale blue Karim drifted out of the neck of the bottle. He took shape and bowed to the Caliph, his patterned grandmother, and the dromedary. "Karim!" Maimon called out. His eyes went so wide that his eyebrows disappeared under the edge of his turban. Emma was just wondering how Maimon got down from his enormous throne when he skipped onto his dromedary's hump and he slid to the floor. "Where have you been, Karim?" Mayim cried, running toward the genie. "Sihim dried out all our wells. He stole my flamingos and my barberry sheep, and he dragged all my treasure into his palace. My subjects, my grandmother, my dromedary, even I, all of Barakash has nothing to eat but dried bread. And still Sihim keeps coming with new demands. Oh, Karim," he flung his arms around the genie's neck. "How could you abandon us like that? Every day I called your name 100 times, but you never came." "Well, now he's here," the blue-patterned grandmother said as she rose from her pillows. "But look at him. He's as pale as diluted grape juice and as thin as a carpet tassel." Karim cast a sad look down at himself. "I am not to blame for my pitiful condition, O grandmother of the greatest of all caliphs. O grandmother," he said, "please, Siam's scorpion stole my nose ring while I was sleeping. You know that we blue genies sleep at midday when the sun makes even the stones sweat." "Ah, yes, the midday nap of the blue genies," Maimon's grandmother grimaced. "Such careless folly. since every child knows that the midday hour belongs to the yellow genies and that they use their time for nothing but evil. Well, it happened, Kareem retorted testily, and the sea lurched me back and forth for more than 100 days and 100 nights until this pale flower of a rigid land, he bowed so deeply to Emma that she blushed, freed me from my glassy prison. She selfishly turned her back on her home to join me with her black-nosed friends, so that together we may retrieve my ring. So be it, or may my name no longer be Kareem the Beardless. Maimon, who really wasn't much bigger than Emma either, eyed Emma and Tristan with incredulous respect. His grandmother, however, didn't seem too impressed by Kareem's report. Hear, hear, she grumbled, which Emma didn't think was very polite at all. And how are you lot going to do that? Sahim is, after all, the most powerful of yellow genies. Well, Kareem is the mightiest of the blue genies, grandmother, Maimon called out. Even if he doesn't really look like it at the moment, Kareem added. He tried to puff himself up a little, but he only managed to grow a pathetic 2.5 inches. The dromedary grunted its contempt and spat a couple of pomegranate seeds onto the throne. What about Sahim's spiders? The blue-patterned grandmother asked. She shoved a banana between the dromedary's yellow teeth. They are as snappish as desert cats. And his scorpions? Kareem interrupted her impatiently. Their venom can't harm a genie. What spiders? Emma asked uneasily. But nobody paid any attention to her. Only the dromedary's sleepy eyes watched her and Tristan. You just keep talking, you pale shadow of a genie, the blue-patterned grandmother barked at Kareem. Yet I tell you, you are crazy if you think you can take the ring from Siham's palace with nobody but a flower-faced girl and her sausage-legged dog for help. Emma was just about to say something very unfriendly to the big old lady when the guard came storming into the chamber. He dropped to the ground 10 steps from the throne and dragged himself a little farther along the cold stone tiles before coming to a halt in front of the first step. He's coming, he panted. He's coming, oh Jewel of Barakash. That same instant, a scorching hot wind blew into the chamber, and Kareem disappeared into his bottle faster than anyone could have whispered his name. We'll see what happens tomorrow.